Hello, my name is Alex, and 3 years ago, my life was a perfect picture. I wasn't rich, but I was happy, successful, and most importantly, loved. I am a chef. My passion is the fire in the kitchen. I founded and owned Fire and Ice, a high-end restaurant in Chicago. It was more than just a place to eat. It was my temple, once called a Midwest hidden gem by CNN. Bookings were full for months.
I didn't know what more I could want. Two people were central to my life. Maya, my fiancée, who managed the front of the house. I trusted her implicitly, dreaming she would be the mistress of both my home and my business. And Victor, my college friend and procurement manager. I treated him like a brother. My biggest mistake was confusing loyalty with love and friendship with honor.
I believe that being a good person was enough to be valued. Our fall began when I received a very generous offer from a large national restaurant conglomerate. They wanted to buy Fire and Ice for a sum that would solve all our financial problems forever. I refused. The restaurant was my heart. Maya was upset, but I chalked it up to her desire for security.
Then, on one of our busiest nights, everything crashed. I stepped out of the kitchen to greet guests and saw two people in uniforms, inspectors from the health department, walking in. Behind them was a local news camera crew, already filming.
The inspector said, without looking me in the eye, "Chef Alex, we received an anonymous complaint. We must shut the restaurant down immediately due to critical sanitation violations." My world collapsed. My restaurant, built on a decade of quality, was closed down as a hazard. I stood in a daze as the cameras filmed my devastated eyes, unaware that the two people I trusted with my life were watching from across the room, celebrating their victory.
The shutdown was immediate. Reports about Fire and Ice as a sanitation hazard were on every news channel in Chicago. My reputation was destroyed overnight. I lost 80% of my reservations, and suppliers demanded immediate payment. I raced between lawyers and the health department. I knew my kitchen was sterile. The inspector showed me photos taken that night, boxes of rotten vegetables, dead rodents behind the fridge, and expired products with removed labels. It was all a setup.
I confronted Victor. As the procurement manager, he controlled the warehouse. He swore he didn't know how it happened, crying about malicious competitors. He was a perfect actor. Maya, my fiancée, stayed cold, insisting we needed to save face and sell the business fast before it completely lost value.
I was on the brink of bankruptcy. I had to announce the restaurant's sale. The conglomerate I had previously refused immediately resurfaced with a ridiculously low offer. I was broken and ready to take it. During my final visit to Fire and Ice, I sat in the empty dining room when my eyes fell on an old, forgotten utility closet. I decided to check it.
Inside, I found several empty boxes from a new supplier Victor had secretly hired. At the bottom of one box was a flash drive. I plugged it in at home. It contained a video, Victor and Maya, together, at night, 2 weeks before the raid, bringing the exact rotten produce and boxes into my restaurant. Then came the bank transfer details. $250,000 from the conglomerate to Victor and Maya's secret joint account as a facilitation fee for the purchase. They didn't just leave me, they sold my dream for $250,000 and destroyed my reputation to ensure I couldn't resist the sale. Betrayal multiplied by greed. I didn't go to the police. They expected a legal war, but I gave them what they didn't expect. I simply disappeared.
I sold Fire and Ice to the conglomerate. The price was humiliatingly low, but I urgently needed the cash to cover debts. The entire deal took less than a week. On the signing day, I looked at Maya and Victor. They played the role of helpful friends, But in their eyes, there was no pity, just greed masked by relief. They were convinced that they had achieved a total victory.
I left the restaurant with a check that only covered my debts. I was broke, but that wasn't the main loss. The main loss was my spirit. I sat in my empty Chicago apartment, surrounded by boxes, feeling utterly useless. Who was I without my restaurant? Just an unemployed chef whose reputation was ruined by a public scandal. For weeks, I stayed home. I watched the conglomerate's commercial where Maya and Victor smiled, announcing the new improved restaurant in my location. I felt like they had won and I had lost forever.
One day, I cut an old news report on fire and ice. The journalist called me a virtuoso, an artist. That's when it hit me. They stole the building and the money, but they couldn't steal my talent. They destroyed the restaurant, but not the brand. I realized the world had changed. People no longer needed a single brick-and-mortar building. They wanted an experience delivered to their home. I sold everything left, my furniture, my old car, rented a tiny but clean suburban kitchen, and invested the last $10,000 into Chef Alex's home experience.
The first few months of Chef Alex's home experience were hell. I was the chef, packer, and delivery driver, working 18 hours a day in my tiny rented kitchen. I made almost nothing, but every positive Instagram review gave me a pure sense of pride. My product was unique, high-end cuisine you could assemble at home in 20 minutes. But I lacked one thing: visibility.
One day, I got a call. Chef Alex, I'm Evelyn Houston, a food blogger and investor. I just tried your kit and it's phenomenal, but your packaging and marketing are a disaster. We need to talk. Evelyn was the opposite of Maya. She was sharp, professional, and completely objective. She didn't flatter, she criticized.
You're a chef, not a brand manager, Alex. Stop being a supplier of food and become the face of an exclusive experience. She showed me how to monetize my scandal. Your reputation was ruined in Chicago? Great! Now you're the man who can't be broken. Evelyn invested a small sum, but more importantly, her invaluable online marketing expertise. She launched my personal channel. My brand exploded. Within 6 months, we went national, shipping thousands of kits weekly. I was no longer tied to one building that could be destroyed by a single raid. I was a national brand. I was earning 10 times more than Fire and Ice ever did. My old restaurant was dead, but the Chef Alex brand burned brighter than ever. I never called Maya or Victor. They saw my national success on CNBC, where they were interviewed about their new restaurant's problems. They got the money, but lost everything: their reputation, friendship, and the ultimate victory. My success became their daily humiliation. Today, my business is worth millions. I didn't just recover. I built something that cannot be destroyed by a single phone call or an act of sabotage. My product sells in all 50 states. I don't feel hate towards Maya and Victor. I feel gratitude. They taught me the most expensive but most important lesson. Blind trust is the biggest vulnerability, and the greatest strength is the ability to build success from scratch. Their loss became my rise. They are now stuck managing a failing restaurant they are trying to sell. They are just managers in someone else's structure. I am the owner of my own destiny. I often think about that day when I sat in the empty apartment holding a check that barely covered my debts. That moment was my rock bottom. But it was the most crucial time of my life. That is when I realized I wasn't the chef of a restaurant. I was the chef of my own brand. My story is for those who feel betrayed or ruined right now. Your downfall is not the end. It's an opportunity to shed what was limiting you and build something that belongs only to you. I got my justice not through the courts, but through undeniable success. So, what would you have done? Would you have gone to the police to punish them? Or would you have chosen revenge through success, like I did? Let me know your opinion in the comments. If this story resonated with you, subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. Let's prove that a person may fall, but their talent and will cannot be broken.